So it's been a few months since the debacle involving Colossal Biosciences, but they're still in the news for various other reasons, and I've been asked to comment on this as someone with a PhD in molecular genetics. So, while I won't go into too much detail given that this is a health science channel, here's my analysis. There are clearly pros and cons here, and I'll jump back and forth between them, but I do just want to note that this video is not sponsored by anybody. These are the main points that I'll be covering. Let's go. First of all, a lot of scientists, but also non-scientists, are mad because yes, these are just gray wolves with 20 gene edits to make them resemble what we think dire wolves might have looked like according to certain experts. Now, of course, what separates species is a whole lot more than just 20 edits, and the examples that I'll use here are mice and rats because I know them well. Rats look like they're just big mice, right? So if I gene edited a mouse to make it look a little bit bigger and more elongated, could I call it a rat? In my opinion, no, because there are critical behavioral and metabolic differences between these two animals. People who interact with rats will tell you anecdotally that they find they're smarter and much easier to build rapport with. Mice can feel a little wilder and more erratic. This is, of course, going to depend on the strain of the animal because there are lots of different types of mice and rats, but the point remains. Consider it an average claim. There are also metabolic differences between these two animals. Mice and rats will metabolize a drug, such as a painkiller, completely differently. Mouse doses tend to be higher than rat doses, so there are more nuanced genetics involved in what makes a species. It's more than just what does the animal look like. Looking at these wolves on the outside, yeah, there's a decent chance that there are strong morphological similarities, meaning attributes that you can see, though there's even controversy there. But do we want to go that superficial with the definition of a whole species? I don't think we do, given that there are still millions of individual genetic differences between the two, and they're important. You can't just dismiss that many parts of a genetic code. In fact, some of the edits themselves actually reflect this, as Colossal explains in its own press release. The direwolf has 3 genes that code for its light coat, but in gray wolves, they can lead to deafness and blindness, clearly indicative of big differences between these animals. So the Colossal team thus engineered 2 other genes that shut down black and red pigmentation, leading to the direwolf's characteristic light color without causing any harm in the edited gray wolf genome. So that's a bit of a case in point moment. Now, it's important to note that getting people with money to care about conservation can be challenging. A big, flashy demonstration like this to advance the technology with species that don't necessarily help anybody conserve anything as an interesting proof of concept, that could attract money. If we can do this big, unimaginable, and interesting thing, the littler things like editing more genetic diversity into endangered species, that should be easy. It's the novelty that could attract the attention necessary to help achieve a goal, including real conservation efforts through their different partnerships and mandates. But is that the actual intent here? All I can say is that I hope so, because otherwise all of this is just a distraction. They already mentioned in a video viewed over 106 million times that they are freezing the cells and DNA of different species, just in case we need to try and revive them later. So many different professional conservation groups have already been doing this for years. I'm talking about Canada's Wildlife Cryobank at the Toronto Zoo, the San Diego Zoo's Frozen Zoo, the Smithsonian's Cryo Initiative, the Frozen Ark out of the UK, and there are many, many more. Now, I will say that I actually do think that redundancy is important in this context because the preservation quality, the specific genetics of the samples that you've collected, that will affect attempts to revive these animals down the line. In addition to the fact that something could happen to that facility that would cause you to lose everything. It actually wouldn't have taken anything away from their accomplishment in that moment to share with you what I just told you in that video segment with Jimmy. I also don't think that it's always fair to expect the celebrity highlighting these stories or this work in popular media to be able to tell the difference. They're not field experts. They're trusting the scientists that's standing right in front of them. Now, there's already concern and discussion around less money going towards conserving the ecosystems and living, breathing species we already have because people are selling the idea of bringing lost species back later. The IUCN released a statement about this and they were very worried. They also categorically reject that these are dire wolves Bringing me to my next point. I think that our viewers and readers are really smart and they really want to stay informed, but they're busy. Not everybody has the time to go and read every single detail of a press release or a news feature, or to go over and read your full paper, which would be tough to do anyways for a non-scientist. Also, if it's not somebody's health on the line, I'm not sure that they're going to be inclined to do that deep dive in the first place. So it says on their website, verbatim, that Colossal successfully restored a once eradicated species through the science of de-extinction. After a 10,000 plus year absence, our team is proud to return the dire wolf to its rightful place in the ecosystem. In this day and age, it might not be enough to say, well, we explained that it's a gray wolf with 20 edits and further reading location X. Real people don't always have the energy left at the end of a long, hard day of work or school or caring for family. That's why people feel like they were lied to or misled. Because if I were the one writing the headline, it would have said that we created an animal with dire wolf traits. Is that as exciting or viral or buzzy? Maybe not, and I can't help but think that that is why Colossal made the decision that it did. Do I understand their dilemma on that front? Absolutely. Marketing is hard. Marketing science is even harder. Importantly, is this the best use of money? Probably not, but I can also think of worse uses, because this is actually something that could advance gene editing in animal models, let's call them, before you then apply them to human health. That's how I'm thinking about it, just to keep an open mind. Would I rather the money go to cancer research? Probably, but then athletes are paid millions of dollars a year, and there seems to be little objection there. Probably because sports can be enjoyed by anybody in a big way, it's an escape from real life, and it makes a lot of people feel good, while the jury is still out on Colossal's work and how much it's actually going to affect people at the individual level. Anyway, that's my take. Thank you for the request, and if you learned something, share this video with a friend.